Welcome back to La Belle Vie and our long crime content. Today I'm covering a new case for me, not a new case, um, the state of Florida v. Charles Adelson. And this is in relation to the murder of his sister's ex-husband, FSU law professor Dan Markel. This is a murder that happened in 2014, and up to date, we've already had three individuals that have been held responsible for the murder of Mr. Markel, and now this is the fourth. So specifically in this video, I'm going to cover the 5 most incriminating parts, in my opinion, of the FBI undercover recording of Charles Adelson and Katie Magbanua. And she is one of the individuals that is currently serving a life sentence. She's the middle woman. And this recording was at the Dolce Vita restaurant, and it was recorded on April 20, 2016. Now, in my opinion, this undercover recording is the strongest, but not the only piece of evidence that the state has against Charlie Adelson from what we've seen so far. So briefly, by way of background, this undercover recording resulted from a bump that investigators employed on the day before, April 19, 2016. A bump is basically an undercover operation to kind of suss out a suspect or suspects of a crime that is meant to encourage post-bump incriminating conversations or incriminating actions. So here, the investigators had been previously granted a wiretap on both Charlie and Katie's phones in connection with the bump operation. So the bump itself was fairly simple. On the afternoon of April 19, 2016, an undercover FBI agent approached Donna Adelson. Now, Donna Adelson has not yet been charged with the murder, but who she is, she's the mother of Charlie Adelson and Wendi Adelson. Wendi Adelson is the former spouse of the murder victim, Dan Markel. So this is Dan Markel, the murder victim's former mother-in-law. So, and this bump occurred outside of her Miami Beach home when she was out walking on her way to pick up Wendi Adelson and the victim, Dan Markel's, 2 young boys from school. So the undercover agent approached Donna by her name and basically said, we know your family has been taking care of Katie and Tuto for some time after your problem up north was resolved. And then he said, my brother, seemingly referring to Tato, Luis Rivera, who is the other person that is serving crime. He plea bargained, but he is serving time for this murder. So basically, my brother, seemingly referring to Luis Rivera, is incarcerated and he needs help too. Now, so Donna replied that she didn't know what he was talking about. And so the undercover agent then handed her a piece of paper and said that this would explain it. And so what was on that piece of paper was a printout of a Miami newspaper article from about a year earlier that was marking the 1-year anniversary of Dan Markel's murder. And it included a picture of Dan Markel, and then there was a handwritten note on it with a phone number and the dollar amount of $5,000. So Donna puts the paper in her purse. She proceeds to pick up the children from school and comes back home. So when she gets back home from picking up Wendy's boys, she calls Charlie's cell phone. And they subsequently had several suspicious conversations, which are also good evidence. I'll probably cover those in a separate video. There's lots of very good phone conversations. But in any event, in these phone conversations, they're kind of talking in code, and they agree to meet at Donna and Harvey, who is Donna's husband, Charlie's dad, Wendy's dad, at their condo the next afternoon after Harvey leaves for work. It's kind of interesting that they were going to do this when Harvey was gone. And I believe at this time he was still working kind of on a part-time schedule as a dentist. So after speaking with Donna that day, after the bump, that same day, Charlie then calls Katie about the bump. And he told her he believed it had something to do with Katie, but he wasn't sure. And that if it did have something to do with Katie, he'd see her the next day. So Charlie and Donna do meet the next day, which is April 20th, 2016. They meet from about 1 to 1:30, and then Charlie immediately drives just north of the South Beach area to North Miami Beach and meets Katie near where she's working. They meet in their car, they have a few conversations, then they walk to a local nearby restaurant called Dolce Vita. And that is where they sit down, and that is where this undercover recording comes from. Basically, what they didn't know was the FBI was trailing them, had seen the bump and were trailing them, and they saw where they were nearby in the car, and then once they went in the car, it went into the Dolce Vita restaurant. The FBI agents then followed in, sat down, and had the recording devices. So anyway, so now what I'm going to cover are what I think are the 5 most incriminating parts of that undercover testimony. So let's get started. Here's number 1. So this first excerpt, I think, shows a couple of incriminating things. First of all, I think it shows knowledge of guilt because there's a concept of flight. I think there's this knowledge of what a bump is. And also, this particular expert um, suggests definite direct involvement with Donna, but interestingly, maybe not so much with Harvey, their father. So I'm going to read the transcript and show the transcript first. Now I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to play the actual recording. I think it's helpful to read the transcript first and then hear the recording. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen now. So here we go. Here's the transcript, and you'll see it was at the Dolce restaurant. I think it was called Dolce Vita, but probably the legal name is Dolce. My understanding also is this is no longer in operation. Okay, so here's the first part. It's right at the beginning. Charles Adelson, if they had any evidence, we would have already gone to the airport. The problem is, even if they bug this, even if they bug your home phone, nobody is going unintelligible. Then Katie says something unintelligible. Charlie again. Even if they bug your phone, you're still not talking about any of this. So my point is, how do you get people to talk? You throw smoke grenades and then you get all the cockroaches to run out. There's smoke in the house. There's smoke in the house. And everyone's running and everyone's talking, and you throw a smoke grenade. What do you think? Listen, if that's what it is, it's very smart, because that means my mom hasn't told my dad anything. My mom knows my dad is going to flip out when he finds out, but my mom hasn't told my dad anything. Okay, so now I'm going to play the video recording of this. So we'll go ahead and play that now. So I call number 2 the they don't know my name. They don't know who I am. Okay, let's read the transcript first, and then we'll show the video of the recording. They'll be back. These people know about whatever it is, whoever it is knows information. Unintelligible from Katie. What? You know what I mean? And there's not a lot of people that know much about Charles Adelson. They didn't mention my name, which makes me think that these people only know part of the story, or they think they know part of the story. Katie, unintelligible. Charlie Adelson, do you think that, let me ask you a question. When everybody was there the next day, did any of you take any money? I mean, it's not like you're driving around in a Bentley, cruising around in a mega yacht, you know? Someone, he must, at some point, because otherwise he would have no idea that I had anything to do with it. So again, showing they don't know the whole story. I'm the one. I know what happened the next day. So I think very incriminating. So the third most incriminating aspect of the Dolce Vita undercover recording that I am going to call, which doctor are we talking about? Okay, so let's read the transcript first, and then we'll go to the video. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. It is, I don't have any knowledge of what went on. Evidently, this person's either pretending to or does. I don't want someone paying visits to my parents. Katie, unintelligible. It could. I wish that it was a cop playing games. Why didn't they know it was me? If it was a cop playing games or an investigator playing games, and they didn't mention me, they did mention your son's girlfriend, Katie, not mention me at all. Unintelligible. And my family. And I think if they thought I had something to do with it, they would find me and they'd talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, go talk to the person who's involved, not effing people who aren't involved. And I'm not involved. But if they knew, your relationship is with me, not my family. Like, I dated you, not my mom. They knew my dad's name. This person obviously doesn't even know that we dated. That's the direct connection, is who was her boyfriend? The 71-year-old guy, Dr. Adelson, or the 37-year-old Dr. Adelson? Yeah, 37. Let's go talk to him, Dr. Adelson. That's who they talked to, not waste your time with my mom. They needed to talk to someone who knew what the F went on. And so wouldn't it make sense that your connection to my family is me? Your connection to my family is not my mom. Like, yeah, you work for the office now because the checks are from there. And that's just because you come in and work on the weekends, which I trust that you're doing because I'm never there. And when I see you, you tell me you do it and the place looks clean. So you get your checks, you clean up, whatever. But that's neither here nor there. This person knows information. And even if they are the cops, that information said your name. And they also know that they're claiming that someone who had something to do with it is incarcerated. I don't know anybody in jail.
Even though I took your car, I did something and I brought it back. Okay. My point is, I don't have any knowledge of what went on. Evidently, this person is either pretending to or does. I don't want someone paying visits to my parents. It could. I playing games or an investigator playing games, if they didn't make a mistake, they didn't have their own recipe. Not mentioned being all by my family. And I think if they thought I had something to do with it, they would find me and they'd help me. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't talk to the person who's involved. It's not talking to you. You are involved. And I'm not involved. But if they knew our actual relationship, like, I dated, not my mom, my dad dated. This person obviously doesn't even know that he dated me. That's a large action, right? Action. What is it? He's a 71-year-old guy, not really. She was 37. That's 37. That's a tough. Not waste your time with mom. They need to talk to someone who wouldn't it make sense that you're connected to my family? You're connected to my family is not my mom. Like, yeah, you work for the office now. That's just because you come in and work on the weekends, which I trust that you're telling me stuff every day when I see it. You tell me, dude, the place is clean, so you get your checks. You clean up, whatever, but that's neither here nor there. This person knows information. And even if they are common, there's that information. And they also know that they're claiming that somebody has had something to do with it, incarcerated. I don't know anything.
So there you go. I mean, he has some self-serving statements in there like, I wasn't involved, and I'm sure that the defense will use that. But I mean, there's a lot there. I think that it's incriminating. So anyway, we'd love to know your thoughts. So let's move on to number 4. Okay, so in number 4, in this excerpt, basically Charlie is coaching Katie on this phone call that he wants her to make to the FBI informant, the alleged blackmailer. So he's coaching her on what to say, but he says something very interesting at the end of this excerpt. So listen in. Well, so first we're not going to listen in. First, we're going to read the transcript and then we'll listen in. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. And then the whole time you're talking, you just say, I don't know at all what's going on. I was just called at 5:30 shaken over this. They're scared, presumably relating to the Adelsons. And I told them, we're going to try to help these people, but that's it. You don't use anything other than the words help and charity. And then you're going to ask that you leave these people alone or they're going to the police. That's all I was able to come up with. If it's the police, they can't take the money. They won't even come meet you. They effed up. If it's this guy, maybe in the back of he knows F off, times a million. And that now he's effing with his wife and he's effing with him, and you F with the king himself. You better kill him and he's going to be a big problem. And he knows who you are. If he can't do it, he'll have someone else do it. And so help me God, if they F with my family, it's going to be like effing that Nazi SHIT, because this will be done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Katie, I don't care what I spend. Okay? I swear to God, Katie, the person doesn't know. So again, listen to the video now, but it's very interesting. You can hear him kind of telling the story. It's a little confusing because what he's doing is basically acting like her and the Katie, and this is how Katie should be talking to the person on the other line, okay? Mixes in some statements I think are incriminating to him. So let's listen to the video now.
The whole time you're talking, you just say, I don't know anything all what's going on, I was just called by a very shaken old lady. She was scared, and I told them that, I mean, we're going to try to help these people, but that you don't use anything other than the words help and charity, and that you're going to ask that you leave these people alone where they are going to the police. That's all I was able to come up with. Because the police, they can't take the money. They won't even come meet you. It's fucked up. If it's this guy, maybe in the back of his system he knows that he's gone, it's time to know it. And then now he's fucking with his wife, and he's fucking with him, and you fucking himself, you better kill him because it's going to be a big problem. And he knows who you are, and if he can't do it, he'll have someone else do it. And so help me God, and say fucking with the old ladies, like bloody conversation, if it will be done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't care what I'm going to say, it's what I got to do.
That excerpt, I think at the very end, when he's talking about the Nazis and coming for his family, I wasn't sure. I mean, you could take that both ways. He could be talking about this, hypothetical conversation that Katie's going to have with the blackmailer, or he could be now switching to his own present tense, saying, and here's where we are. This is the deal, and they can't F with my family, and I'll do anything. I'll pay anything. So, interesting. What do you think? Okay, now we're going to go on to the fifth most incriminating aspect of the Dolce video recording, in my opinion. Okay, let's go. Okay, I'm going to call number 5 the scenario of how we're going to proceed if it's not the cops. If the person that met up with Mrs. Adelson at the bump is not an FBI agent, it's really someone that's trying to shake them down. This is their strategy. Adelson. Well, the problem is if you give into, like, if my mom meets him, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll meet you tomorrow in front of the unintelligible building. And he just drives up and she hands him 5 G's. What the F do you think is going to happen next month? It's going to be, oh, he needs your help again. You know what I mean? And the thing is, if my parents are really guilty, they may think that they have a big fish on the line that's going to pay them monthly. And all they have to do is scare this little old lady. And who is she going to go to? She's going to go to the cops? She's guilty as hell. You have to let them know that these people are not afraid of going to the cops. They've got nothing to hide, okay? So you're the one they reached out to, and they said, you need to say that they reached out to me because you mentioned my name, referring to Katie. Katie, unintelligible. Why would you ever want to reach out? Someone that obviously, you know what? That would have been more like personal with this whole thing. Your mom. Charlie, I'm more afraid of the long term, like knock at the door again and again and again. So very interesting. I think what that's trying to show, and we'll listen to audio, but I think that what that's trying to show is like, look, if this is really a blackmailer, we need to give this impression to the blackmailer that the family is kind of scared, but they have nothing to hide. And if you don't, this is charity. And if you keep coming back, they are not going to be afraid to go to the cops because they've got nothing to hide. So that's what I think. But anyway, let's listen to the audio recording now.
The problem is you give it to, like, if my mom meets her, it's like, oh, okay, I'll meet you tomorrow in front of the building, and he drives up and she gets the 5G. What the fuck do you think is going to happen next month? He's going to be, oh, he needs your help again. You know what I mean? And the thing is my parents really were guilty. They made them think they have a big fish on the line. They're going to pay that love. All I have to do is scare this little old lady. Who's she going to go to? She's going to go to the cops, she's guilty as hell. You have to let them know that these people are not afraid of going to cops. Like, they got nothing to hide. Okay? So, you're the one they reached out to. I mean, you can say they reached out to me because you mentioned my name. I'm more afraid of the long term, just like knocking the door again and again and again and again.
I don't know, let me know what you think. We know that this was incredibly strong evidence in the retrial of Katie Magbanua in last May. And because what was the background of this is they had this video in the first trial, Katie's first trial in 2019, which resulted in a hung jury. So she was retried, and there was COVID. So she was retried last spring in May. And in the meantime, between that mistrial in 19 and, when it was finally ultimately retried, the state was able to get some FBI experts involved. And of course, there have been additional technology, et cetera. And they were able to enhance the video so you could finally hear what Charlie's saying. Now, unfortunately, we can't hear a lot of what Katie's saying. Probably because she has a softer voice, maybe also because of where the undercover recording device seems to be a little closer to where Charlie was versus Katie. Maybe this is something that Katie will clear up in her proffer if that's used. So anyway, let me know what you think. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on this case. I'm super interested in it. My next video is going to be just a primer on where we are and where we are in the case so far, particularly for my subscribers that may not be familiar with this case. I know a lot of people have been following this. There have been 2020 and Dateline episodes on this. And as I said, it's been going on since 2014. It involved a very acclaimed Florida State law professor, a very interesting story about a very ugly divorce and all the issues that go along with it. This one, the crime itself is not complicated. Poor Professor Markel was murdered in broad daylight at 11 a.m. in his car in his garage by hitmen. What's complicated on this one is the whole conspiracy and all the players that are involved. And so, again, it's another really super interesting case. It's just that what's interesting and what's complicated is the conspiracy and the murder for hire aspect of it. So super fascinating. And I hope you'll follow me along as I follow this one. His trial is currently set for fall, October of 2023, this fall. So hopefully that will go forward. But in the meantime, there's lots to dive into on this one, and I hope you'll join me for more content. But thanks again for joining, and I'll hope to see you in my next one. Bye.